Hey, what's up, everyone? It's the Fighting Tater Show. My name is Lucas Gephardt. He is Ryan Luke. Been a couple weeks since we've done a show, but big game coming up this weekend, obviously, with the Super Bowl, Eagles and Chiefs. And we have a cool little local tie-in that we want to get to. Quintin Mikell is a former Philadelphia Eagle, actually played in a Super Bowl. Going to join us live here in a couple minutes. But first, we want to tell you about our show, how you can find us. We are the Fighting Tater Show. You can find all of our episodes, obviously, right now, if you're watching it, on the IdahoSports.com Facebook page, YouTube channel, and X account. You can find any of our previous episodes as well on IdahoSports.com and wherever you download and subscribe to your podcasts. If you have not shared, leave a comment, do all that as we get going throughout this show here today. Should be a good show, should be a fun show. We got a former NFL player getting ready to join us. But Ryan, been a few weeks, man. How you been?
Yeah, in and out, man. Life's been crazy. I mean, we haven't even talked playoffs. We haven't talked anything. It's just talked to friends and you and I did call a basketball game together. That's the only time that we even got a chat. But we were so involved in what was going on. But a lot's happening in terms of sports, Idaho sports specifically. But as the Super Bowl draws closer, man, we got a treat tonight. I'm very excited about having Quintin Mikell on tonight.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and set the stage with Quintin Mikell. Throw some of his career stats up there just to get a feel of who we're talking about. Quintin Mikell is a former NFL safety, played for Boise State from 1999 to 2002. If we got any of this wrong, he'll correct us here in a few minutes. Had a long career in the NFL, played with the Eagles for quite a bit of time, then had some time with the St. Louis Rams and Carolina Panthers. Currently, he is an assistant coach over at Rocky Mountain in Meridian, which we can talk to him a little bit about that. Rocky obviously had a great season in the high school ranks, and then fell a little bit short to those dang Rigby Trojans. You're going on the road, man. So that's who we're getting ready to bring in, and while we have a chance, we could bring him in right now and bring in Quintin Mikell. Welcome in, Quintin. This is the Fighting Tater Show, first appearance for you. Thanks for jumping on with us, and yeah, how you been?
Oh man, that's awesome, man. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's a crazy time of year for me right now. We're just enjoying. I'm enjoying. I'll show you guys a little bit.
Oh yeah, is that go green?
There. Yeah, getting ready for the game this weekend, so we're all excited around here. Me and my family, we're huge Eagle fans, and so it's a good time right now. So all's well, man. All's well.
I do have a funny story. So my son, they were in the same class. Quintin's daughter and my son were in the same class a couple of years ago, the first Chiefs Eagle go around, right? And my son, being the idiot that he is, I love him to death, but he's like, Eagles suck. He actually got sent to the principal's office for saying that. He was like, do you know what her dad did here? Dad played for the Eagles. And he's like, oh, man. So major drop the ball on that one.
Oh, yeah, no worries, man. Listen, man, I'm an Eagle fan. I played there. Our fans are the craziest, so that's nothing new. I've been called. We'll talk about it later, but I've been called worse by Eagle fans. So I'm not worried about that at
all. I will say this about Philadelphia: I've been all over the country. It's one of my favorite cities to go to. I love Philadelphia. I'm a big history guy, so there's a lot of history there, right? I haven't been to an Eagles game, but I've been to a lot of Flyers games. I've been to a Philadelphia Phillies game. So haven't obviously been on the field, right, to experience some of this, but have seen it from the stands. So what is playing in Philadelphia like? It's a big market, obviously a very passionate fan base, right? So, and you were on a Super Bowl run with that fan base, so you've kind of seen them at their best, maybe their worst. I don't know.
Yeah, Philly is. I love the city of Philadelphia. Blue collar town, sports town. I mean, they support 100%. The Flyers, the Phillies, the Eagles, the Sixers. I mean, it's what they live for out there, right? And so, beautiful city. I mean, it's older city, so obviously, you get a little bit of, kind of the old rundown buildings, but a lot of history, like you said. A lot of sports history, a lot of really good food, really good restaurants. Just a lot of fun, man. It's a fun city. It's a cool city. I would say it's like a little bit kind of like New York in the sense of you get that big city feel, but also it's just small enough to where it feels a little bit more intimate. And so it's really cool. We lived in New Jersey, which is right over the bridge. So you could be in the suburbs and be in the city in about 15, 20 minutes and get to experience all the fun stuff and get back over the bridge and be home safe. And
To the
so
safe zone.
yeah, it's the safe zone.
I mean, listen, I don't know if I don't know if Phillies or the Philadelphia fans would appreciate you saying that it's a little like New York. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just hard to explain. Like in the sense of if you've never really been out there, I always tell people I trying to equate it to New York because everyone kind of seen New York. You've seen it in the movies, but you don't really see a whole lot of Philadelphia. So I always try to connect those dots in terms of that type of feel. The
Yeah.
energy. People always walking, people outside, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So that's more of what I meant.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but the fans are totally different, right? I mean, the teams are totally different. Let's go.
Yeah, the fans. We have a love-hate relationship as players. And now I'm on the other side as a fan. We have a love-hate relationship. So it's actually pretty cool because, when I was playing, I remember I'll never forget, like my first game was the opening of the Lincoln Financial Stadium. We were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so it was my first game, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. You got Sylvester Stallone. He's on the upper balcony and he's like flexing, and it was just you got the flyover fireworks and stuff. I'm like, this is amazing, right? So first game there, we lost that game. We lost to the Bucks, and I'll never forget walking. I tell this story all the time, but walking off the field, I'll never forget this. I'm looking in the stands and I see this lady. She looked like a soccer mom, like totally like blonde, just soccer mom, pants hiked up, and she looked at us. And I don't know if she looked directly at me. I felt like she was staring right at me. And she was like, "You suck." And she took it was like a big gulp, like this big. And she just hurled it at us. And I like jumped out of the way and I'm like, what the? And I started to go over to say something. And like the security and all my teammates were like, man, come on, let's just go in the locker room. Let's go. So that was my introduction to the Philly fans. And, I love them. They're great fans. They support you when you're doing well and they let you know when you're not.
Yeah. So you were there under Andy Reid, is that right? Yeah. So
Yes.
obviously he's now the coach of the Chiefs, right? So how was it kind of playing under him? Is he as good of a coach as he kind of seems to be now, just going to Super Bowls year after year with his quarterback's pretty good too, I guess. But
well, yeah, I mean, Andy's a tremendous coach. I love him. Still to this day, if I send him a text, shoot him a text, hey coach, good luck, or hey, great job on the win, he'll shoot me a text right back. Great guy, great family. He's just an awesome coach. And I was really fortunate, coming out of Boise State. I was really fortunate because, I didn't get drafted, but I was able to, go sign as an undrafted free agent in a place like Philadelphia where they value talent, where they value hard work and dedication. And then you have a coach that understands that not everybody comes in the league, ready to start right now. And sometimes guys need to develop a little bit. And I was just fortunate enough to be in Philly where I could develop and learn my craft and become, the type of player that I was. But Andy's a tremendous coach. I've never heard any one player say anything bad about Andy. I mean, everybody loves him, and it's because he's just a great guy. He'll never throw you under the bus. He'll never come into the locker room if you have a bad game. He'll never come in and curse you out. None of that crazy stuff. He's just focused on one thing, and it's winning championships. And so he's a tremendous guy to coach, to play for, tremendous coach, and everybody loves him.
Yeah, and Andy Reid is essentially revolutionized the game of football in this modern, we'll call it, Donovan McNabb plus era in terms of what he does with the football, his creativity, etc. But the thing that I'm most impressed with, and maybe you can give us some more insight into this, is just how well he knows the game. I mean, you see some coaches and they have, timing gaffes or they make mistakes with this and that, but he seems to have everything dialed in. I mean, what's that preparation like with Andy Reid and playing under him, for him, and being a teammate with the rest of those guys who have to buy into that system?
Yeah, he's a tremendous coach. He knows the game. It's funny because I do a podcast with an old teammate of mine, Jason Avant, and he played receiver, and it's called Q&A. It's really cool, and we talk about a lot of the old days stuff. We talk about current stuff, and with me being on the defensive side of the ball, I didn't really know the ins and outs of the offense. So it's really cool as a former player and teammate of Jason to sit here and he can diagnose and understand a lot of what Andy's still calling. He's still calling the same plays. He's still calling the same offense, but he's found different, more creative ways to dress it up and change the looks of it. So it just kind of shows you how creative he is in his mind, how his mind works. Like he can have the same play, but you'll have it out of 18, different looks. And it's really cool. And they always work, so, and then preparation wise, I mean, there's not going to be any team ever that hits the field that hasn't gone over every situation. I remember when I played, we, every practice, it was situational football. Okay. Hey, they blow the whistle, call everybody up. Hey, listen, 30 seconds left in the first half and we're trying to go down and score. Defense, the ball's on the 50. Defense, you got to do this, keep them out. We don't want them to score, blah, blah, blah. So every game we were prepared for every situation. It didn't always work out for us, but we always understood our role and what we were supposed to do in every situation. So yeah, he's very, very well prepared, and yeah, you can see it now. I mean, he's winning. He's winning. He's
Super Bowls. He got some rings.
Yeah.
You talk a little bit about your journey to the NFL. How about your journey to Boise State first, and kind of talk about the recruiting process that you maybe went through, and then talked about being an undrafted free agent. So kind of going into that hard knocks mindset, right, where you got to make a roster in your first team, and then you went on to have a great career in the NFL. So talk a little bit about that journey and how that ended up working out for you.
Okay, yeah. So moved around a little bit. I grew up in New Orleans, moved to live with my dad in Indiana when I was in the sixth grade. My dad worked for Sony, and Sony was built a plant out in Springfield, Oregon. So second semester of my freshman year, we moved out to Eugene, Oregon. And so went to Eugene. I went to Willamette High School out there. And I had a pretty good career. I was getting, towards the end of my career, I was getting recruited a little bit, took a couple trips. One of the things this is why I'm a big proponent of when, as me as a coach now, when I talk to players about getting recruited, one of the best things that ever happened to me was my mom signed me up to go to the University of Oregon football camp. So I went to the camp the summer before my senior year. I ended up getting defensive MVP of the camp. And I remember, finishing out the year, and I had taken a couple of trips. Right around this time was when Dirk Cutter was moving over to Boise State to become the first head coach, or the new head coach here at Boise State. And, that basically sealed it for me, started recruiting me. I went on a recruiting trip to University of Idaho before I went to Boise State, and I had a good time up there. And I was actually really considering going to Idaho. And, my dad was like, hey, just make sure you go to Boise State, go check it out, see if you like it. So fast forward, I took the trip, loved it, had a great time. Came to Boise State, had a good career. We did a lot of great, wonderful things here, and it was awesome. And I really felt that after my career, I was going to get drafted. And then, comes draft day, that didn't happen. And it was really disheartening. But at that point, I just remember, telling my dad, hey, whatever team picks me up, they're going to have a great player. And, I packed up everything that I had, flew out right after the draft. And, I signed with Philadelphia as an undrafted guy and, worked my tail off. I mean, there's a lot more ins and outs to that story. I don't want to bore you guys with it, but yeah, it was fun, man. And I wouldn't want my life to have gone any other way because I feel like everything on the football field, I earned it and I worked my way up and I fought for everything that I got. And it makes it that much more meaningful in my eyes because, year after year, I would see guys get drafted and come in, drafted at safety position and they get moved in front of me. And it'd be disheartening and it puts you in a situation where you can get really frustrated and you could say, you know what, man, F this, I'm done. And I did it. I just kept fighting and kept fighting. And eventually I got to where I wanted to be. And I mean, it was a great journey. It was, it was a lot of fun, man.
Heck of a journey. 2-time All-Pro. I mean, you did something right. That's look, and going to the Pro Bowl. I'm a Patriots fan. Hate me if you want, but I know Drake May went to the Pro Bowl, right? He went to the Pro Bowl, and did he deserve it? No, but it's like 18 other quarterbacks that dropped out before that. But to be selected as an All-Pro, that's like the All-Star team of professional football. So I mean, very belated years later. Congratulations on that, Quintin.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, but quick question though, as far as Boise State runs a really good program. We've seen that, and that's been part of the culture of Boise State for years, getting the most out of the least, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and actually you know him as well, Quintin, but we were just talking about the recruiting class this year for Boise State, and they're having to take flyers on guys, but trying to milk the most talent out of whatever. But one thing they do bring is structure. They run a tight program. There's a lot of camaraderie. What does a college training camp, we'll call it spring football, and then as you get into your fall camp, look like versus an NFL camp?
Yeah, that's a good question. To me, the biggest thing, the biggest difference, obviously, you got school. In college you have school. You got to wake up and you got to deal with going to class, and everyone's got different schedules and all that. So, that part of it is a lot different and more, and I would say more difficult. In the NFL, that is your job. Your body, your work, your ethic, everything is you. And so that's probably the biggest difference. Now, in terms of intensity, in terms of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess fight, like in terms of fight, intensity, stress, the NFL is at a much higher level because it's your livelihood, right? You make a mistake, you get injured. You're just not up to par. You're not studying tape. You're not taking care of your body. You're out of there quickly. They don't have time to wait around for you. And in college, they can let you develop. Well, that's even changing now with the new rules. Yeah. But, it used to be you get time to kind of develop. And, in the NFL, it's now or never. So that's probably the biggest difference. Schedule-wise, the schedule, I think the schedule in college is a little more difficult. You have a little bit more freedom, a lot more freedom in the NFL. And so to me, the biggest difference really is the stress levels are higher in the NFL, especially during camp time because everybody's competing. You got the new guys every year, new rookies coming in. You got the old guys that are on the way out and they're still trying to fight to stay in. And then in college, it's like if you're the man, you're the man. If you're that number one guy and you don't feel great at practice, especially now, they're going to be like, okay, just take it easy, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between the two.
Yeah, the NFL, they got how many other undrafted safeties waiting behind you to take your spot if you're not watching film, right? So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's cutthroat.
Not for long. Not for long.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, when I went from high school to college, I was like, what is going on here? The playbook opened up and it got bigger and more complicated and intricate. And I was on the defensive side of the ball going into college, and so your defensive playbook looks it's a lot smaller than maybe the offensive playbook. But just like you said, the intensity and the size and just the physicality and that's going from high school. I can't even imagine. I mean, what do they say? For every, I think it's like 0.01% of all high school players play in the NFL. I mean, so you're really just filtering down to the best of the best, of people that come through. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. And it's funny too, like you just made me think of it when you're talking about the size difference. I'll never forget, I grew up, and I talk about it all the time, but I grew up a huge, all the safeties, all the good safeties over the years, Bob Sanders and,
Mm.
Ronnie Lott and Brian Dawkins was one of my favorite players. So I'll never forget the first training camp. We show up and, this whole time, on tape, on film, on TV, everybody looks a little bit smaller than they are in real life. So the whole time I'm thinking I'm like the same size as Brian Dawkins. I'm like, yeah, he's a little safety like me. Like, I could do that too, and I'll never forget the first practice or the first meeting we had. We had these really nice dinners on the first night. You get steak and lobster, and I remember Doc walking by, and I'm like, "Who is that?" Because I just saw him from the side, from the back, and Hollis Thomas. He's I don't know if you hear, he's a
Yeah.
defensive lineman. He was like, "That's Doc." I was like, that's Dawg, that's Brian Dawkins. He was huge. Like, and I'm not talking just, obviously the muscles and all that stuff, but he was tall. Like, I didn't think he was going to be that tall. And that was the first time I realized, like, dang, uh, I'm at a new level right now. Like, I thought me and him were the same size and we weren't even close to size. So, yeah,
Turns out that
absolutely,
boy.
man. Yeah.
Wolverine, right? The whole Wolverine thing when it came out. Yeah,
Oh,
Doc.
yeah.
Yeah.
Weapon X, they used to call him.
Yeah, I remember watching him, and I'm a Denver guy. Obviously, grew up in Colorado. I remember when he came to Denver, and he was a popular player in Denver too. When did you kind of know and kind of put in your kind of career back up here with the Eagles? Obviously, had a good run with them, but when did that transition over to St. Louis make? What happened there? I had a couple seasons with St. Louis and with the Panthers, but what is that like? Were you a free agent, or what happened?
Yeah, my free agency story was pretty crazy. I so my last year in Philadelphia it just coincided with the off season where there was a lockout.
Mm.
And so I just remember the season ended and there was a lot of uncertainty whether we'd be coming back. The lockout was looming and, you know, there was a lot of just unaware. It was just a lot of unsure of what was going to happen. And so, that entire off season, we couldn't train in the building. And so I remember a bunch of us players, we would get together. We'd be working out at LA Fitness, the gym on the East Coast, or Gold's Gym or something like that, and we'd try to get together and do workouts on the field. And we just were doing whatever we could to stay in shape. But it was kind of scary because I'm like, man, I'm about to be a free agent, and there's not going to be a season, and and I was towards the end of my career. So when you get a little bit older, you got to strike while the iron's hot, right? So you don't want to be, excuse me, you don't want to be in your 30s trying to be a free agent. So anyway, long story short, the lockout ended, and it was like a whirlwind. Lockout ended, and it was like all the agents, they just started like calling and talking to teams, and I just remember being at home and my agent Jason Shea with Sports Stars back then. He's like, hey, all right, because we had a plan, but we just weren't sure when it was going to start. And then once the lockout ended, he started to make the calls, and there was a couple teams. I can't remember. I know one was the Browns. I believe the Buffalo Bills and the Rams. Coach Spagnuolo was the head coach there at the time, and he gave me a call and he said something. He's like, yeah, he's like, this one team they're messing around. I don't know which team it was. He didn't tell me anything. He's like, this team keeps messing around. I'm gonna get going on it. So I was like, all right, do what you gotta do. Wherever you want to, send me for the best deal possible, send me. And so he's like, all right. So he hung up, and then a few minutes or hour or two later, he called me back and he's like, hey, I got you a deal. You're going to St. Louis. This is what I got, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, let's go. And so it was really cool. I feel like it was a little bit, it kind of sucked a little bit because, you hear about the free agency stuff where guys get to fly in, they get wine and dine and all that stuff. I never got all of that, but I did get the opportunity to go somewhere and make some money. I did get the opportunity to go somewhere where I felt wanted, which I still was with the Eagles, but I did feel wanted with the Rams. And it was a good experience. That first year with the Rams was not fun. We won 2 games. It was miserable. Coach Spagnola got fired. And then Coach Jeff Fisher came in the next year, and we had a little bit better of a year. But yeah, it was a crazy experience, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Were you sad to leave Philadelphia? I mean, because you'd been there for years, and what was that? 8 seasons, 9 seasons, 8? I can't remember.
8. Yep, eight.
Yeah,
8
8
years.
seasons, and then were you done? I mean, were you done with Philly, or were you just looking to make money? Because if it were me, I'd be all about the money. So
Yeah.
I'm being honest.
I mean, it felt bad. Well, it felt bad because it was, my wife is from out that way. All my friends were there, and you always wanted to finish with the team you started from. We still were kind of, on the up and up, but I had to get paid, man. it was like, and I remember talking to Andy during the season that year before the lockout, and he told me in a meeting, in not so many words, he was like, "Hey, I'm going to try to do whatever I can here," but he's like, sometimes my hands are tied, but he's like, whatever I can do to help you out, I'll help you out. And so I took that for what it's worth, and I do believe in the back end he helped me out and got me that deal. Maybe not got me the deal, but he probably talked to some people and talked positively about me, and it really helped out. So it was a little bittersweet, but I was still happy, and I got to continue my career, man. And I was just hoping just to make the team. 8 years earlier, I was just hoping just to make the team for 1 year. So anything above that was a blessing, and so I was happy with it. So
yeah,
that's great.
I mean, league minimum in the NFL is still a few $100K. I don't know what it was like back when you were playing, but for a college kid, I mean, that's a dream for most college kids. NFL league minimum, right?
Not now. NIL.
Yeah, with NIL, yeah. But what was that second contract like when you realized that, okay, now I'm a big boy NFL player now, getting a legit deal now? What was that like? What was going through your mind when you got that?
It was crazy because there would be times where I'd be like, "Is this real?" It doesn't feel real because you work and you strive so hard just to get noticed, and then you get noticed, and then it's like I had a plan, and my first plan was to make the team. I made the team, and then to become a MVP on special teams. I was able to do that. The next year, it was like I wanted to be a starter. So a couple of years later, I became a starter, and then the next year, my goal was to get a second contract. And there was actually because I signed a 3-year deal with a tender offer, so there was kind of like a year in between where I was on a 1-year deal, and so that was right around the time I was starting. So I got that tender deal as I was kind of starting. And so I never really felt that I was going to ever get to that second contract. And, just to be able to get there and get it was just amazing. And I felt like, okay, pretty much everything that I had checked on my list, I made. Everything that I had on my list, I ended up checking off and getting to. So the contract was awesome, but it was like gravy on the top. So for me, it was just like a dream come true. And at times it was like, man, is this true? Is this real? And it really was. And it was awesome. And it's a situation set me and my family up for life, set us up to where I get to do kind of, I have the freedom to do some things that I want to do, and we get to travel, and we got to do a lot of stuff. And so it was awesome, and I'll forever be thankful to the Rams organization for that. And it was a great experience.
It's fantastic. Yeah. All right, we're heading into the Super Bowl. What is Super Bowl week like, right? I mean, we're T minus, a few days away, and it's got to be unreal, especially as a player, and the pressure, and maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just another game. I don't know. I never played in one, but what does that look like?
It's awesome. There's a lot of pressure. I remember we played, so I was just a special teams guy. We played we played the Patriots in Super Bowl. I forget what number it was, but it was
39.
down in Jacksonville. And you're the only thing in town. You're the only thing on TV. You're the only thing everyone's talking about. You feel the pressure, but you also revel in it. You revel in the spectacle of it. And I'll never forget the first media day I went to. I'd never seen anything like it. We go into this big arena, And as soon as you walk in, I mean, there's so much media there. I mean, it's thousands of reporters and people, and you got podiums here and there, and everyone's asking you all these weird questions. And you got people that can't even speak English trying to get interviews. Like it really was. That was the first time where I really understood how big the Super Bowl really is. Because when you're growing up and you're watching it on TV, you don't really. It's just you in your house, or you and your family in your house. You don't really see all the other people that are watching at the same time, all the other people that care about it at the same time. And so that was my first time really feeling like, wow, this is so huge. And, one of the coolest things, and I always talk about that too, is that everywhere we went on the buses, we had like helicopter escorts. We had police officers everywhere. I mean, it was nuts, man. I felt like we were the president just strolling around town. I mean, it was amazing. Really cool experience. And it was a lot of fun. It sucks because I was so young, and this was the year we had T.O. on our team, and we were blowing everyone out. And it was like, man, we can get back. Because after the game, you're like, oh, we're going to get back there next year. And it was like, never again got another chance. And so I did revel in it, but I feel like I didn't really soak it in as much as I should have, because we never made it back. And I thought that we had the team that was going to go back again, and we never did. So sucks.
Yeah. Best T.O. story. Come on, you got to have something. The dude's crazy. I love him, but you got to have a T.O. story. Terrell Owens. If you don't know, if you don't know who he is and you're listening to this, Terrell Owens.
Google.
Let me see.
Sit-ups in his front yard. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want. I can't. There's some of that. I don't want to. Because there's people involved, and I don't want to talk about some of the stories.
Don't want to incriminate anybody.
Don't want to incriminate anyone. I'll tell you one of the weirdest ones. He used to have all these crazy parties. Nothing like you think on TV, but this was one of the weirdest things I ever saw. So he had a Halloween party at his house, and everyone had to dress up and all that stuff. So we show up to the party, everybody's there, we dance, we have a good time. And at some point in the party, he left the party and like put on a Michael Myers, usually Michael Myers or Jason, I think it was Michael Myers mask. And then he just went outside his own house, and he just like stood in the window and just stood there. And like everybody was like, who is that
guy?
And he just stood there, and it kind of freaked everybody out for a little bit. And then he didn't break character one time. So it was a little weird. But yeah, that's the one I'll share. There's some other ones that I don't want to get too crazy with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I will say this though. T.O., he's a receiver. He's 6'5", 230, strong as hell. And he wasn't afraid, and he wouldn't back down from anybody. So there was a couple of fisticuffs that he was involved in. I won't say he was in, but people that you think would have won didn't win. I'll put it that way. So
wow,
he got these.
Yeah.
You don't want to tear down anybody's street cred by saying that T.O. took him to the woodshed, baby.
Yeah. It wasn't me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I stay away from him.
It's better to be a lover than a fighter, Quintin. A lover better be a fighter. Unless you're a fighter, then go be a lover. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Well, hey, you had one. I'm looking up the stats now. You had one tackle in that Super Bowl. Do you remember who you tackled? Do you remember the play at all?
It was probably a special teams play. I had to have more than one tackle.
Take it up with ESPN. So different media company than Idaho Sports. We would have had it.
Man, those guys, they always
we have you for 10. We have you for 10. So
let me think. I would say the one tackle. I know I had a special teams tackle. I'm gonna guess Deion Branch.
Good guess. I don't know. It doesn't say.
We're asking you.
Okay. I had
Let's
one
see.
in the
Special
second
team.
half on kickoff.
So
Okay.
Deion Branch had, let's see if I can find special team stats here. He had 11 catches. So punt returns, Bethel Johnson had a punt return. Troy Brown had a punt return.
Oh
So
yeah,
he had 3 punt returns and Johnson had 1. Kick returns, Johnson had 2. Patrick Pass had 1 kick return.
Were you a
So,
gunner? Where did you play on the? Were you on kickoff?
so I was a personal protector on punt team. You know what those guys are.
Yeah.
And I was a 5 and a 4. So I was usually the L4, so left 4
Uh-huh.
and 5. So I was in the thick of it, man. I was down
Yeah,
there
you had
getting
your
my hair
lane.
cut sometimes. Hitting a wedge. That's back when they had real wedges. You can't do a
Yeah.
wedge anymore, man.
Well, the kickoffs. What do you think of that? The kickoff rule. How crazy is that? I mean, they line up 10 yards apart, and there's
That-
no kick returns, right? I mean, it's the same product every time. 25, 30-yard lines of return.
I hate it. I'll never forget because I missed kind of the ruling on that because I wasn't really paying attention during the spring. And I remember the first game, I'm like, what the hell is this? I was like, what is going on? I had to like pause it and go research it. It's actually a travesty. I understand why they're doing it. I think it takes a huge part away from the game. I think it takes opportunities from players like myself coming up that would have made a name on special teams and been able to develop. Um, I do get that. I do get the scheme part of it, and I do understand. Um, you know, the concussions and all that, and getting that all out of the game. But it just feels wrong. I mean, it just feels wrong. And then it's like I'll never forget. So for me, one of the coolest things I talk about when we played in the Super Bowl was being on the field the first play of the game as a special team guy. I was a left tackle, and I'll never forget the first kickoff. The Patriots kicked the ball off, and it was all in unison, like everyone's camera flashing at the same time. It was one of the coolest moments of my life, and I'll never forget that till the day I die. And it's like it just doesn't feel the same anymore. You'll never get that feeling, the ampness, and then all the lights going off, and it's like, oh wow, it'll never be the same. And so I get why they're doing it. I just wish there could be a different way to do it. It's just too weird for me. I'm too old. I'm an old man.
Well, and I mean, this is just my opinion. They'll see. I think it's deteriorated the product, if that makes sense. Well, the other thing that deteriorates the product is when you can't breathe on a quarterback, but we won't get into that. So, but I think it deteriorates the product, and they're going to have to evaluate it again. I get it. I mean, injuries were down, and we can look at the concussion numbers, et cetera, dramatically. They went from 3 people in a wedge, actually 4, to only being able to have 2 in a wedge. That reduced the number, and then they went down to what they have in terms of special teams. So, but they're going to have to do something different. I mean, it's not the same. There's not an explosive play. I mean, they had 1 kickoff return for a touchdown this year. 1.
Yeah, and that's sad. I mean, you think about the human joystick, guys like that. You think about
Wait,
what's his
Dante
name?
Hall?
Dante Hall. Yeah, Dante Hall. I'm blanking on for the Bears. Kick return.
Played it. Devin.
Miami.
Devin.
Devin Hester. Devin Hester. Yeah.
Hester. Yeah.
Guys like that
Yeah.
we'll never get a chance to see again. I mean, that was such a huge part of the game, so much excitement, and it could change a game at the flip of a hat. I mean, you're up 7 or 14 points, and you kick the ball off, and the guy runs it back, and it breaks the game open. So it's really unfortunate. It really is.
Yeah. Well, maybe you ever see that maybe trickling down to the high school level at all? I kind of think it might be an inevitable thing that it eventually trickles down there. But I mean, you see it at the high school level more than the NFL level. I mean, special teams changes. Yeah. I saw 3 surprise onside kicks this year. 3 of them. You have to declare that in the NFL now.
Yeah, that's so weird. That's another weird rule. I mean, why? It's not really a surprise if you're.
What's the point? I mean, bring your hands team in.
Yeah. No, the high school game is it's changed a lot. I mean, I don't think special teams was ever that dangerous at the high school level. So I hope they don't make that change. Even with us at Rocky, I mean, we had a pretty good kicker. Thank God he's coming back. We didn't really see too many kickoff returns. So, and then even on our end as a return team, we didn't really get too many opportunities to get anything going. But it still felt like football. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling on that.
Well,
But
no, let's roll into that a little bit. So you, defensive coordinator at Rocky, you guys ran the season, great season, semifinals, stinking Rigby. Just I don't know if you remember this, but you and I had the conversation, and you said we've got to get through Rigby, and that was like 2 or 3 weeks into the season. Like that's what you told me. You said we've got to get through Rigby, but great season, made it to the semifinals. Unfortunately, ball didn't bounce your way. But I think the thing that sticks out, and Lucas and I talk about this all the time when we're talking high school football, because we call a bunch of the games, which is just the quality that comes out of Rocky. I mean, you guys are producing some high level kids, and Quintin, you and I have had conversations. I've had conversations with other people. How do high school kids in Utah, Idaho, compare to other states? What's they're looking like? I mean, we're seeing more and more kids get recruited. Brandon Huffman from 24/7 Sports, we had him on the show a few months ago. It was a great interview too, and he talked about the quality of football coming out of Idaho. But how are those kids, and what are you seeing at Rocky and their level of being able to be prepared, move to the next level?
yeah, it's really cool. When I first moved out here, the first year, I didn't coach. The first year, I just kind of went to games and kind of watched. And one of the biggest things that I noticed was the execution of the offenses and defenses, especially the offense, the execution and the skill and the understanding of the game overall compared to New Jersey was much, much higher over here. And I feel like that's because in New Jersey or the Philadelphia area, there's a lot more kind of old school schemes, a lot of wing T, we're just bigger than you, we're better than you, we're more athletic than you, we're just going to run it down your throat type. And then that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a few teams here that do that as well. But the thing that really kind of surprised me was just the development at younger ages. I would go to a couple of the Pop Warner, not Pop Warner, the what's
Optimist.
the league? Optimist games, and you're seeing kids in fourth, fifth grade running RPO schemes and understanding how to read, and you don't really get that as much on the East Coast. You get more of that tough mentality, that Big Ten, old school Big Ten football, if you will. And so I thought that was really cool. So what's really cool is, so after watching Rocky for 1 year, my buddy Dre was coaching over there, and Coach Kulik had left, and got to talking with Coach Scott Kreiner, and he brought me on. And it's just the program we run is, I would say, it's like a college program, not even a small college program, like a real college program. The way it's ran, the way we teach schemes, the way we teach technique, the way we practice, the way we work out, like everything is built on the platform of being a college program. And what you see is that if you teach them at a younger age, which now that we're kind of branching lower and we're working with some of the younger coaches that kind of filter into the Rocky program, they can pick it up. I think a lot of times as coaches, you have this mentality, oh, they won't understand this or they won't understand that. But what we've been able to do at Rocky is we're taking very, very complex concepts and schemes, and we tweak it in a way that it's easier for them to understand at a younger age. So by the time they come in as freshmen, sophomores, they already understand that. So now we can just build on that and just keep going. And so what's really cool is that now we have college coaches that are coming in, and they're putting our kids on the whiteboard, and they're asking them questions, and they're answering everything. Like these kids are coming out of high school ready to go, mentally and physically. And we work on that tremendously. Coach Scott Kreiner, he's really good at understanding what and where players need to be and what they need to do. And I myself, on the defensive side of the ball, I kind of do that. We put our players in the best positions, and it's just really cool being able to feel like we're in a college program, but in a high school level. And these kids are all ready to go. So last year was a great year. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of veteran players in our secondary, a lot of veteran players on our defense. And that allowed me to be able to, especially defensively, to be able to do some really cool stuff and to have some more complex schemes and sometimes probably a little bit too much. But overall, I think this team and this program is on the way up. As crazy as that sounds, we're still building. We're still building towards something, and that's a championship, and hopefully we'll get there. So, yeah. Sorry, kind of long-winded.
Yeah, no, it was great, especially for this audience with the main.
No, it's a good answer.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. Yeah, so you talk about some of those players that you have on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Ryan and I called that Rigby game. And it was, or no, Zach was at that. I don't think you were there, were you? I don't know if you were at that one.
Zach, yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
I was calling another game. Yeah.
But it was, lived up as advertised. But those two programs just have so many athletes that are just ready to play college football. And you look at any signing day, any recruiting class, and it's just Rocky, Rigby, Meridian, Middleton kind of sprinkled in here and there. But I mean, you guys dominate the recruiting class in Idaho, and that just speaks volumes too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's just go through. I mean, you had Isaiah Reed, you had Caden Kimball Turner, Hayden Thompson. These are and this is just this class, right? That just signed here.
Yeah.
Let's see who else.
Trey Jacobson,
Tayshawn Reese, and that's just one school. Like that used to be all of the recruits in all of Idaho, and that's what I'm saying is nowadays I'm serious, right? Like I was born in Idaho, I can say this, but the quality of football was not there. But nowadays, I think you said it best. You're running the program, you're getting the kids ready, and they're coming out knowing how to scheme. And I remember watching, oh man, it was the older Martinez, the older brother. It was Zeke's older brother. Anyway, he, I heard somebody interviewed him one time, and he was just talking scheme, and I'm like, and that's been a few years ago, and I was just like, how is it that this kid in high school in Idaho is just dropping like knowledge bombs on these guys talking scheme? It was absolutely unbelievable. But you're seeing that more and more. I mean, again, you just Trey Jacobson. I mean, next you could have I mean, Jackson Tanner, right? Next year, he's going to be one of the top recruits. I bet he gets bumped to a 4-star. He has Oregon, BYU. He has all kinds of guys after. You want him on defense. I know that.
But, So, Jax is killing it. He's doing awesome. He's getting recruited like crazy. Rowan Rupp is going to be another tremendous player for us. He's going to have a great year. We're going to be moving him around a little bit. We got a little young guy coming up, real running back, Baxter Oakley. I'm not sure if you guys heard of him before, but he's going to be a running back, and I'm going to try him out at some corner. He's going to be lights out. Riker Clyde is my little guy at corner, but he's not the tallest, not the biggest, but he is easily one of the top cornerbacks in the entire state, and he's only going to be a junior. I hate to, try to put that pressure on him, but he's that good. He played a lot for us last year. If it wasn't for having 4 starters coming back in the secondary, he would have been starting for us. So, I'm looking for him to play really good. And then we have a lot of pieces on the defense that we're gonna try to move around. We'll start here. They've been training since November in the morning workouts, but once we get into the spring, we'll start moving some pieces around and seeing what we got. But Owen Weatherly is going to be back. He had another tremendous year. Be moving him around. We got we might have a couple surprises on our defense. We'll see. I don't know. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to talk about it yet, but I think we're going to be retooled and ready to go, and we're going to hit the ground running.
Yeah. Does it having a team as good as you guys were and going as far as you did and losing to Rigby, do you feel that that's kind of put a little bit of a chip on your guys' shoulder kind of going into the off season and the summer here?
Oh, absolutely. It sucks because it's like, you had a successful season. You didn't lose. We blew out a lot of teams. We played good. We did all these things, but you really, unless you get that championship, it doesn't matter. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't feel the same. And Rigsby, shout out to Rigsby. They're a great program. They're going to be back again. It's like every year they're going to be on, the team to beat. And our entire mindset is, when we get to the playoffs is, we're going to see them at some point, and we have to be prepared and ready to go against them. They're going to bring it, and we fell a little bit short last year, and hopefully next year it'll be a little bit different. But the whole goal is we know we're going to see them at some point, and we got to get over that hump, and that they are our Eagles. To the Eagles, they are the Chiefs in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, until we can conquer that hill, we have a lot of work to do. So,
well, I mean, you guys have a couple question marks, right? Like, who's going to be throwing the football for you guys? I think that's a big question. You don't have to reveal anything. I have no idea. There and offensively with some running backs, you said you have a running back coming in, which is good because you lose a couple of backs that put up some serious yardage for you guys. But I think across the front, you'll be big and strong again. And it's all, I think football is won in the trenches. I could be mistaken, but or by the rest if you're the
right.
Chiefs. But did I say that out loud? Anyway, but I think it'd be fun. I mean, Rocky's always fun. It's one of the best games in town. A Rocky Eagle game is always fun. A Rocky Mountain View game is always fun. A Rocky Meridian game is always going to be fun. So, you guys do a good job there for sure.
Yeah, did want to ask. I mean, Rocky is such a deep program, right? I mean, you guys have some real legit athletes that are underclassmen that they know they're good, they know they're athletes, but I mean it's got to be hard for some of those kids that are so good to be patient to wait for their chance at the varsity level. Kind of going off of how you played your NFL career, right? Undrafted guy, had to kind of prove yourself a little bit. Do you ever use that as like a coaching tool of like, hey, I know I've been in your shoes before. I know you're good. I know you're good. Just be patient. Keep working hard. Do you ever use that as like a coaching tool for some of your kids?
Yeah, that unfortunately is one of the hardest parts of being a coach, and it's one part that I like the least, especially at a program like this where we do have so many good players, so many good athletes. There's only 11 spots. But I've always been of the mindset of the best player plays. I don't believe in, and I haven't had my meeting with those guys yet, but I will let them know this. Like, I don't believe in you can't lose your position to injury, right? I'm based on competition. Everything, if you're not competing each time you step on the field, then what are you out there for? And so I'm going, on defense, we're going to be all about competition. Best player's going to play. That could be 1 week you're starting. It could be the next week you're not starting. That's just how it is. And I think that's the best way to get the best out of every player. And to be honest with you, anyone that really wants to make it to the next level, that's how it's going to be at the next level. That's how it's going to be at the next level after that. And so you might as well start getting used to it now if that's what your goal is. And so that's the way I'm going to approach it, and that's how we're going to do it. So it is difficult, though. I do not like that part of it because things do happen. Guys have bad games or guys are injured or this or that. But I think you're doing a disservice to your team if you're not looking at it that way as playing the best player and playing who's going to help you, who's going to give you the best chance to win. But it really is tough. It really is. I got a son on the team. He's coming up. He's going to be a junior next year, and he's going to be at a crowded position. And it's going to be the same for him. He's going to have to work. And if he's good enough, he's going to play. If not, then, hey, it is what it is. And mom will be mad at me, and, I'll be sleeping on the couch for a little bit maybe, but that's the way it has to go. And so, it's just football. It's the real deal. This is the real deal here. So
yeah. Well, speaking of football, we did skip over a major part of this, and we need to probably wrap up because I think it's probably getting late for everybody here. But top Boise State moment. What's your favorite moment for Boise State? You give us 2 or 3 if you need to, but you guys had some great wins during your time there, and so got to be something that sticks out to you.
Oh man,
Am I digging too deep? Your top Pop Warner moment. Come on, no.
My top. So, man, to me, well, I think for me, some of the moments that really pop out, like if I'm just off the top of my head, was going down to Fresno State and playing Fresno State when they had David Carr and Pat Hill, the head coach, and they had just, I believe, they had beaten Wisconsin that year, so they were flying high, and we go down in the hostile territory and we go down and take them down. I got a sack that game. That was awesome. Our first bowl win. Was it Louisville? I believe it was Louisville. In the Humanitarian Bowl. That was fun. Gosh, man, there's so many fun memories. I don't know.
Oh, that's good. No, that's fine. That's fine. I do
You're
like
making me feel old.
Hey, buddy, I see the gray on the chin. It's cool.
Oh man, I got tons of them.
Yeah, you know what? So I love that you brought up Pat Hill, because that name sticks out to me. I mean, I growing up, the Pac-10 was on ABC where I grew up, and so I grew up watching USC. So I'm kind of like a closet USC fan. But when Pat Hill, anybody, anytime, anywhere, right? And they go down there. Remember when they knocked off USC that one year, and it was big time. And so Pat Hill, I love what he represents. And Fresno State, along with Boise State, heading over to the new Pac-12. I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be good for, I think, both schools involved, and continues that rivalry, because I feel like there's a great rivalry there. They played in Mountain West championships. And so, I love that you brought up the Fresno State element of the Boise State football.
Yeah, and I have to say, man, like as much as the game of football has changed, as much as NFL's changed with the rules we're talking about, one of the coolest things is seeing all the changes in college football. And we can lament it as old guys, but it's really cool to see that the players are now getting paid. And, I remember in college, we were struggling. So it's really good to see those guys getting paid off of their hard work. And the coolest part is us fans, we get to see all these unique, different conferences come together, all these games that we didn't grow up being able to watch that are going to be, for our kids, hopefully new rivalries and stuff. So it's a great time to be alive, a great time for football. And so it's really cool. And hopefully we'll have a few more guys from our program we'll get to cheer on in the future. I got a few from this year. And so hopefully it'll continue from there, man.
Yeah. All right. Final question for you as we head into the Super Bowl. Your former team's playing your former coach. I know your former coach has got a few rings already, but Philadelphia has also got a championship last few years. So who are you rooting for? Who you got? What's your prediction?
Listen, I love Andy Reid. I love that entire coaching staff. All those guys are awesome over there, but they got 2 in a row. All right. It's time for us. Not only is it the Eagles, right? But my man Kellen Moore is there too. I texted him earlier today. I'm like, hey man, good luck. You got some good stuff coming down the pipe, but let's get this win, man. So I'm excited. The Eagles got to win this game, man. I got all my text messages and all the trash talking I'm going to do. I got it all lined up. I'm ready. I got everything saved up, and as soon as we win that game, the clock strikes 0. All my trash talking is going out. I'm sending it to everybody.
Yeah, LFG, baby. LFG. My son, consequently, so let's go full circle. My son's cheering for the Eagles too. He's like, I'm sick of the Chiefs. I'm done.
My man.
Right? Yeah,
yes,
he's over the Chiefs and the referees and everything else that's going on. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess if I'm being honest, I'm leaning for the Eagles too. So let's go.
Yeah, man. Listen, just hop on the bandwagon for this. Just one more, 8 more days? How many? 5 more days?
Well, listen. Eagles robbed the Patriots. I mean, it was an illegal play. The Patriots should have won that Super Bowl. Yeah, Nick, there was an illegal man downfield on that play. Just ask me. I'll tell you all about it.
I don't think you, Patriots fan, I don't think you want to start talking about
listen, I have 6 Super Bowls. I can't feel that bad. I mean, what do you guys have? What is it? What is it? No.
We got
I didn't
one,
win
but
one.
how many of yours were won by a secret camera, secret recordings?
Probably all of them. But if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, because everybody else does it. It's proof. Jim Harbaugh is all over that. You can't tell me he's not doing that in LA. Come on now. Andy Reid does it, man. My boy, I'm a BYU guy. Andy Reid does it. Let's go. And we all do it. You
Fair
did
enough,
it too.
fair
Don't
enough.
lie.
Oh man, that's fair. All right. That sounds good.
I own it. At least I own
Yeah.
it.
Oh man.
Well, hey, this was a lot of fun, Quintin. Appreciate you jumping on the show with us here today. Welcome back anytime. This was fun. Appreciate you jumping on with us.
We'll grab you as we get closer to the or even in the middle of football season. We've been trying to get Quintin on for a while, and it just football season got busy, so we get it.
Yeah, my bad on that. But thank you guys for having me. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. And anytime you guys want me on, I'll hop back on. And this was fun, man. I appreciate it.
Good.
Yeah,
thanks for coming, man.
Appreciate it. As Quintin Mikell, former Boise State safety, Philadelphia Eagle, and I was trying to find who he tackled in the Super Bowl. Could not find it. But according to ESPN, he did have a tackle in the Super Bowl. So, all right. Well, that was Quintin Mikell here on the Fighting Tater Show. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. It was a fun show for us to bring to you here today. Have fun watching the game as well on Sunday. Probably Kellen Moore's last game as the OC for the Eagles. It looks like he's getting the Saints job. So
yeah. Eagles by 3. I have Eagles by 3.
Eagles by 3?
Yeah.
I think Kansas City 34-27. They've been winning close games all year. I think they win another one.
Do you think maybe it finally catches up with them? I don't know. We'll see.
I'm not rooting for Kansas City. I just think they're going to win because they've been winning close games all year. I think they're going to win another one.
Well, as my wife says it, I'm going to manifest an Eagles victory in this Super Bowl.
Hey, we tried. We had a former Eagle on tonight, so
let's go.
He's Ryan Luke. My name is Lucas Gephardt. We're the Fighting Taters. Smash that like button. Give us a share, a follow, comments as well. Helps us reach more of you guys. We took a couple weeks off, but maybe we'll be back next week. Check back.
Yeah, we'll do it. Let's do it. All right. We'll see you.
Have a good night.